Shalom. We'll get started in just a moment. Give me a moment. Just real quick. All right. Let's get started. So today's lesson, we'll be talking about how we are not going to save ourselves in reference to how we need the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, whose true Hebrew name is YAHAWASHI. We're going to need him to come and save us from all these events that are going to come upon the face of the earth, which are going to try everybody here on earth. But before we get into that, let's go and give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH, Barakah Yahawah, Barakah YAHAWASHI, Barakah Yahawah, Barakah YAHAWASHI, Barakah Yahawah, Barakah YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect who are the house of David, reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today we're known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. So, like I said, today's lesson, we're going to talk about how we, when I say we, I'm talking about the Hebrew Israelites, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and all those whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline. Hey, shalom, Adam, not the water for joining on. So how we are not going to save ourselves, because when you see what's coming and you understand what's coming, it's not something that's of man. You see, though it's going to be coming through these Edomites. And when I say Edomites, I'm talking about the Caucasian and Israeli race. Though it may be coming through their organizations, their own, power structure, and all the things that they're setting up around the world, it is ultimately the will of the Lord that this comes through. And what do I mean by that? Well, you see, the Edomites, the Caucasian race, along with all the other nations that have come before it, that have set up themselves up and had world empires. Some of them have been world empires, others have been smaller empires. All that has been done by the will of the Lord. The Lord has set these nations up in their own dispensation of time, just like right now how he is setting up these Israelis and the Caucasians up in their time. Right now is currently the empire of the Edomite, right? And this is why we're seeing so many crazy things going on right now as far as the economy starting to collapse. You're starting to see unrest amongst the people. You're seeing population influx with people being moved out of their countries. That's all taking place right now because right now we're in the end or the downfall of the Edomite Empire. And these Edomites, they know that they're at the end of their empire. And what they're doing is they're bringing forward an agenda to solidify their world rule. See, they believe, when you read the Bible, and it tells you about how there's going to be a war in heaven and how Satan is going to fight against God and his angels, that's talking about the Edomites fighting against God. And that's because these Edomites believe that they may have a chance to fight God and win, and then ultimately continue rulership forever here on earth. But to do that, there's certain things that they're going to try to accomplish. What's those things? Well, it's to dissolve all nations here on earth, right? Or at least to bring them in under the umbrella of the Edomite control, that being the EU, the UN, NATO nations, and also to microchip everybody, so that way they can claim your souls. But before I get into that, let's go and read this. We'll get started with Jeremiah, because one thing is though this is plain to me and other Akim, the apostles, and a lot of you Akim out there watching these lessons, we know this, right? I'm already preaching to the choir, but the vast majority of our people in this world right now do not know this, and unfortunately, by the time this is all done, 2/3 of our people aren't going to understand this, or at least they're going to not understand to the point where they're going to be basically rejected and have to die on this side. Okay, but let's go and read this, because a lot of this trying to save ourselves, go out, buy multiple acres of land and build up little communities, right? Go and build up churches and all these things. All that comes from not knowing what we're going to be going through, right? Thinking that we're going to save ourselves if you set up the right type of city, you get the right amount of provisions, right? But that ain't going to work. But let's go and get started. This is Jeremiah 8:7. Yea, the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed times, and the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming. But my people know not the judgment of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. You see, it tells us in the Bible, even all the way back in this time of Jeremiah, is that a lot of our people basically didn't understand what the Bible was talking about. They didn't go into it, and they never really studied it. Okay, and in doing so, we fell off. We started worshiping other gods. We started worshiping the gods of the community, meaning we joined in with the community to build up the city and the neighborhoods, right? Baal Berith, right? Where it's the god of the community that a lot of our people are stuck in, okay? And there's nothing wrong with being involved in the community and involved in making your area better. But the thing is when you stake your life on that and you revolve your life around that, then what you're doing is you're ultimately giving that worship to that God, right? And not the God of the Bible. You're not living as the Lord wants us to. You see, this here, like it tells us, right? All these things naturally, all these animals that it mentioned, they all naturally know, you know, when it's summer, when it's spring, when winter's coming, right? To migrate to certain places, to make homes in different places, to move and to migrate. But our people, we don't understand the signs that are to come. And what are the signs? Well, the signs talks about the coming of the Lord, right? And there's signs that tell us what that coming of the Lord, what would come before the coming of the Lord, right? And the Messiah himself told us, right? This can be read in the gospel, or the four gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? It tells us how there would be earthquakes in diverse places, that there would be nations rising up against nations, there would be wars and rumors of wars, right? That other places also told us that there would be in the latter time that society would basically devolve into a narcissistic state, where basically there would be people who were unloyal and just wicked, and that's what we're living through right now, right? And then when you look at all the natural events going on, see, everybody around that's just stuck in the secular world, not understanding that the signs that the Bible told us to look for, they don't know this, and they just think, oh, it's climate change, right? Oh, it's people that they're just more conceited now, not realizing that this is all a sign of society basically just getting to the point where it's at that point described in the Bible. Okay, let's get this, because one thing that our people don't understand is, why is it that we're in such a bad state? Yeah, like we're told that you know, we came, that when we were here, that they came and they conquered us, talking about the Northern Kingdom, the Latinos and Native Americans, right? And then the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negroes, they were told how they were taken as slaves from the west coast of Africa and brought over here to the Americas. Okay, and right now our broader community believes that we're in this low state because we just haven't gotten to that point where we've raised up and it's been our turn to rule, right? We haven't reached the right amount of degrees. We haven't owned the right amount of property yet, right? We're still coming up. And then when you look at our people, all those hustlers and all those people of our society, or of our people, I should say, who are, you know, chasing after the bag and looking to become the next, you know, millionaire, billionaires out there, you know, you can tell that what's on their mind is just money, right? The materialistic goods. And what ends up happening is this then puts the rest of our people into that same mindset, right? They see Michael Jordan, they see all these people of our people, you know, who are of great means, and they're like, man, one day I want to get that Beamer, one day I want to get that, you know, G-Wagon, right? And thinking that all they got to do is hustle enough, get enough degrees, own enough businesses or open up enough businesses, and that's it. But in doing so, what happens is that our people start chasing after things that can never happen, not on this side. Yes, it'll happen to some, because there's always exceptions to the rules, and there are some Akim of our people who do get blessed because they've done good things and they get a blessing, right? But a lot of times, a lot of our people, they do wicked things to get to that blessing, right? They sell out other Akim. They're doing illicit things in the community, right? Selling drugs, screwing over other Akim, right? Just so that way they can then get theirs, and then they'll be good, right? But again, what happens is this is just a small microcosm of our people being in this downtrodden state, right? Yeah, you'll have a few of our people up there, like the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, right? The Jennifer Lopez's, right? The Ricky Martins. But what do they do to get to their place? Now, this is just talking about the music industry, moguls, right? Well, they had to sell out. They had to bow the knee to Esau and his system, right? But what about for those Akim who don't bow the knee, don't want to, get involved with Esau and his system? Well, they never make it. They never really make it of anything bigger than like local neighborhoods, right? So look at a good example of this would be who's that one Black Power guy, Dr. Umar Johnson, I think that's his name, Umar Johnson, right? He was fairly popular amongst our people, okay, right, especially amongst the Southern Kingdom, right? And he had a little bit of fame, right? People know him, right? He's on mimes and everything, but now he's over there begging for money, right? Because why? Because he never sold out to Esau, at least from what we've known, right? Like people like Reverend Jesse Jackson or some of those other sellouts, right? Who got national recognition, and they're extremely wealthy, right? Because why? Because they sold out to Esau, right? And they started to toe Esau's agenda and his narrative. So what ends up happening is they get rich, but then they get shunned from the community, right? We got who is it? So it's Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, man. When they go into communities nowadays, they get chased out, right? Jesse Jackson was during the BLM riots, man. His ass got, I think it was him or the other guy. They got chased out of the fucking little strip mall that they went to try to talk to the people. Our people don't give a fuck about them anymore, right? But again, that just shows you how our people don't realize what's happening. But we as Hebrew Israelites can tell you what's happening, and what's happening is that the curses described in the Bible that would happen to the Hebrew Israelites if we fail to follow the Lord, those curses are upon us right now. Okay, now they're currently in the state of starting to slowly come off of us, but by and large, these curses described in the Bible have fallen upon our people, and we're currently living under them. So let's go and read this real quick to describe why is it that we ain't going to be able to make these small empires here. We ain't going to be able to make these franchises that all the Akim want to make, right? We're not going to make the t-shirt empire and get filthy rich and then bring up a whole neighborhood or people out of poverty. Well, that's because of this Deuteronomy. Let's start at 28 and 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahawah BAHASHAM Yahawashi thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And let's go and jump down to 29, which kind of just encompasses all these curses. Verse 29, and thou shalt grope at noondays as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. And that's what's happening there, right? That's what's happening with our community, right? When you look at our people, by and large, that may go out and then they may spend, their family or, a small little confederacy of families who have come together to open up a little tienda like that, a little market, right? It'll go good for a little while, but what ends up happening? Bodega Oraro or whatever ain't gonna go national. It ain't going to get to the heights where they're gonna become a multinational, a global superpower, right? They'll probably be here for a couple more years, and then what's going to happen is they're going to close out, and then the next person is going to come in here and take over. Okay, and again, this is all because of these curses that are upon us because of what we did and going off and not worshiping the Lord and not following the commandments. Now, like I said again, you do have our people who are being blessed, right? What does the scripture say? Right? They in their time have received blessings of me and have not known me. Talk about how the Lord blesses us, and though we don't even know him. Why? Because of places like this, these false churches, we're out there worshiping so-called Jesus, right? White Jesus, or worshiping the Virgin Guadalupe or the Virgin Mary, right? Which is basically, it's all elaborate trickery to get you to worship pagan gods. They go all the way back to Nimrod and his wife Ishtar. Okay, and in doing all this, what happens is our people, go throughout this life, right? They're shown little crumbs, and they're shown that carrot to get us to race down that track, right? They show us Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, right? LeBron James, and they show us all these people of our people, all these people of our race, and they say, hey, look, they did it. You could do it too if you work hard enough, right? If you go and you get enough degrees, you'll go and get a high-paying job. But what's happening right now? The world is starting, or here in the States, they're starting to realize that these degrees at these colleges and universities is a bunch of bullshit, right? It's a scam to get people into student loans, so that way they're perpetual wage servants. Okay, and the thing is that this is why. And I remember, man, back at my old job, I would talk to the hiring managers and the owners, and this is a data center company, right? We basically did a bunch of servers and just computer stuff, right? We would purposely not hire people who had these degrees that came out of these universities because they didn't have any practical knowledge, right? They said that they would always rather hire people who had actual experience over people who had degrees, because the people who had degrees would come out of these universities, right, basically just with an inflated ego, I guess you could say, and they said with high demands for higher pay, but no actual real world experience, right? And then that's not even getting into the technical aspect of it, right? You have a lot of our people who have things like social degrees and women lib studies and just degrees that there's no practical usage for it unless you're going to be going into like psychology or social work, which again, that all right there is another trap for our people, right? So the point being is that we currently are being oppressed on a biblical level, on a divine level. So again, we're not going to be able to raise ourselves up, build an empire within this Edomite empire that we're currently slaves in, man. See, because this system is not set up for us to win. It's set up for us to be perpetual workers in the system. Now, yeah, once in a while you're going to have little things like the Bitcoin industry that breaks out, and you're going to have some of our people who get up high in these little breakout industries, and then they become millionaires, billionaires, and then they go up. But what do? Right? Not having the knowledge and the fortitude to understand what to do, right? Not having the knowledge of the Bible, these people go off and they end up becoming little like obscure millionaires off someplace. And what we've been seeing recently over the last couple of years is a lot of these Bitcoin millionaires are being killed off left and right. Because why? Because they were anomalies that basically broke out of the matrix, right? Broke out of this set narrative that Esau is setting up, and they weren't going along with the game. Okay, that's why. What was it? There was I don't know his name or nothing, but there's like these two Bitcoin millionaires. One of them was posting on Twitter talking about how that his girlfriend was like a CIA plant or Israeli plant, and that the CIA was following him, and that that they were trying to kill him, and then the next day or something, he ends up dead. See, that's because and the only reason I bring that up is because that is the system that we're playing in, right? Yeah, you could do things like you could bring out all these truths. You could go ahead and start up a smoke shop, and Esau will let you play at that for a while, make it off good money. Because I had a lot of friends back when I was in the world who had smoke shops. Right, I would build websites for them. I would do a lot of the online things for them. Right, and I would see how they were making money hand over fist with some of these illicit fucking shops, man. Right, and they're good, but they're cool people and stuff. Right, not the most civically minded, I guess you could say. But the thing is they were allowed to make all this money, right? Because why? Well, because again, it didn't benefit our people, and it was just something that these Edomites knew would keep our people down. This is why they allowed. What was it, man? It was back when who was it? Yeah, back I think when Obama was running for president, right? They were saying how they were going to when he came. I think it was when he came out, or it could have been when Mitt Romney was running against Trump. They had asked them what were they gonna, and again I forget exactly what it was, but it had come to the point where when these candidates start to try to give out what are they gonna do for certain communities. Well, when it came to the so-called black community, what were they gonna offer them? Well, they were gonna allow them to open up more marijuana shops. See that bullshit? They were going to permit those shops to be increased in the cities that they lived in, as if because that's what these Edomites, that's what they want for us, right? That's where they see that we could go to, right? They ain't gonna tell us that, hey, you guys can start your own bank that'll be outside of the central bank system. See, that'll never happen. There's wars and coups that take place because of that, because of how these Edomites want to go into, for example, Libya and take over Libya, because they were threatening to create their own monetary system outside the dollar, right? So it's deep how entrapped we are as a people, and really how entrapped the world is to these Edomites, and this is what has made these Edomites so proud and so sure that they've won, right? They believe, they're so sure of themselves that they believe that they can actually win against the Lord when he comes back, which is why they're doing what they're doing right now on a world stage. So let's go and get this. This is let's go to the book of Baruch. This is Baruch 3:8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from YAHAWAH BAHASHAM, our power. Right? So just like in the time of Baruch, right, when that time came out, this was during the time of what was it? This is when both the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom had been taken out of the land of Israel, right? The northern kingdom, we had been slaves. We got taken out of northern Israel. We got taken over to Assyria. We were dwelling there for about 100 years. And then the southern kingdom got taken out of southern Israel, and they got taken over to Babylon. And right here, at that time, Baruch was saying, right, we are yet in this day in our captivity. Well, guess what? We are still yet in this day, right? Thousands of years later, we're still in this captivity, right? But this captivity, it's an open wall prison, which we don't really even can see, not unless we're actually paying attention, right? Because see, if you're going along with Esau's program, right, you're going along with his programming and his brainwashing, right, of believing that you're here and you're free, and you're here in the land of the brave, home of the free, right? You're believing that American indoctrination. You think you really are free, man. You think that you're Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, if you're lucky, is a blessing, right? You don't realize that these systems that are set up around us, that are already set, established, can't be changed. Talking about the banking system, the rules regarding governmental policies, laws, all these things that are set up that regulate our day-to-day life. If you think that's a benefit, then I got a bridge in Jersey to sell you, man. See, these devils, they got us so trapped in this confined system that people, and here's the thing, in trapping us in this system, they give us enough benefits right? The entertainment, the sports teams, the latest movies, right? Enough corn out there to satiate men so they don't fucking rise up, right? They've given us all these bread and circuses as they did back in the Roman days. So where our people, they're content with what they have, right? Our people are happy being these tax slaves and not worrying about what's going on in the world, not worrying about how our world is governed and by who, right? And that's what Esau wants. Esau doesn't want you to worry about the laws, doesn't want you to worry about the World Economic Forum or the Davos Summit over there in Switzerland. He doesn't want you to worry about how the Vatican came together with all the world religious leaders over in Kazakhstan, which is like the new headquarters for the New World Order world, and signed an oath of fidelity with all the world powers, saying that all the world religions are all the same, all praying to the same God, but just through different ways. See, this is what they don't. This is why they don't show it to us in the news, right? Starting back in what was it, 2013, when Obama signed the law which allowed propaganda to be pushed to Americans. I forgot what the actual law. But ever since then, these devils they've hijacked they hijacked the news, right? All things of importance. Even PBS and they got rid of the public broadcasting channels, right? Where you could go down to your city hall and you could have your own public broadcast. You could basically put out what you wanted to. That's all done away with now, man. And all the news agencies, they've all been bought up and they're all purchased and ran by like these small amount. I think it's like 4 or 7 corporations that are all ran by Esau and Amalek, right? And why is that? Well, because now they control the narrative. They control what you see, and hence what you're going to believe and what are your talking points. This is why whenever Christians come up or other people come up and they try to talk to us about what's going on, they always get stuck because all they could talk about is talking points that comes from the news. They don't really know what's happening over in Israel. They don't know what's happening between America, Russia, or should I say NATO and the BRICS nations. A lot of them don't even understand what the fucking BRICS nations are, you know? But again, that's just because our people are right now just satiated, they're content, and they're basically being fed tons of lies. And yeah, exactly, like the Akim just put here, Mikhail Taylor, he posted a little icon of a little chariot, a UFO, right? A lot of our people don't even know what's going on with these chariots, man, right? Some people who are paying attention, they hear the random mentions about how there's currently a interstellar object racing towards the Earth, or not the Earth, but to the sun right now, right? And it could be the chariots, but more likely it's going to be Project Bluebeam that these devils are going to bring forward, and they're going to scare the shit out of the world, to tell them that we have to weaponize space, right? And why is that? Well, because they're getting ready for the true Lord to come back, and the true invasion to happen, which is what they're getting ready for. Let's read this. This is let's jump back to Isaiah 9:16. Actually, let's start at 14. Therefore, YAHAWASHI will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rush in one day. The ancient and honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed, right? And that's going into our people, right? Being misled by these what we see as leaders of our society, of our people, right? And notice that they only allow comedians, movie stars, athletes to raise up and be figureheads in our communities to speak about certain things, man. They never let people, men of letters, men of renown, or philosophers, or governors raise up and speak, right? You got people like Thomas Sowell, but he never actually speaks really about our plight, right? Not at least on the public level, right? But see, the thing is these Edomites, they've set up all the perceived leaders in our society, right? Your Martin Luther King, your Cesar Chavez, right? All these people who are supposed leaders who have misled us, and they've led us down the wrong way. Look at people like T.D. Jakes, right? You got all these other people within the religious community of our nation who have misled our people and taught them falsely, and have ultimately destroyed our people. Because why? Because they haven't told them the truth about one, who are the people that the Bible is speaking about, right? Who are the Negro, Latino, Native Americans realistically according to the Bible? See, these people, which are our supposed leaders, they don't tell us the truth, right? They've taken a payout, right? Filthy lucre to keep their jobs. What was it? The Akim Arrows of Indignation 144. He brought out, I think it was like what was it? He was a mayor of some city back east, and he was talking about how if he didn't sign the vaccination legislation that went through, or some shit like that, the masks, like the lockdowns or whatever, that the Biden administration was going to come and take his job away, right? And take all these Jake's jobs away out of the local government. And what did he say? Well, we couldn't have the Biden's goons in here. You needed us to be here, right? Because why? Because he didn't want to take that fucking pay cut. He didn't want to lose his riches. He didn't want to lose his payday. So what did he do? He bent the knee and he misled our people. And a lot of our people, trusting, our people in roles of leadership, they get destroyed and misled. Okay, and that's what ultimately happened. Okay, so but that's what's happened. But what I just read here, let's read that again. Therefore, YAHAWASHI will cut off from Israel. That's talking about our nation, not the land of Israel, but our people, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the head and tail, branch and rush in one day. So the Lord is taking our people out. This is why right now you're seeing, what was it, over 300,000 black women lost their jobs recently in like this last quarter, right? And a lot of those jobs were government jobs, right? And a lot of these women of our nation, they were put in positions of power, leadership roles, right? And a lot of it came in through that DEI bullshit, which really was just a ploy to get our people to acquiesce to these Edomites' new bullshit doctrine, which was really just brought in. The whole woke culture was brought in to destroy the old American system, and they use you fucking idiot Negro, Latino, Native Americans who went along with it as a bulwark to take that down, right? This is why you always had what was it? A perfect example of this was BLM, right? Who was at all these BLM riots in the very beginning, man? It was all a bunch of fucking white people, a bunch of Edomites, out there fucking with signs and everything. And it wasn't until later on that Jake caught on that BLM was an AstroTurf movement, right? The leaders of that fucking movement were lesbian women who couldn't stand living in their own community, man. They took the fucking bribes, bought multiple houses, and moved out of their hood, right? And what do? They even screwed over the family of that the guy that got his neck stomped in, man. But his ass apparently didn't even fucking die from that, man. He died because of a fucking drug overdose, right? It's coming out. But again, this is how Esau rolls, man. He uses our people as a shield to bring forward his horrible new laws and his horrible agenda, right? Like, guess what happens? Our people, being idiots and going along with it, we're now held up as the bad guys, right? And then you have little fucking Amalek and Esau in the background talking about, well, they weren't involved in it. It was all the BLM riders. It was all the black people, all the Mexicans, right? Look what's happening right now, man. Remember I told you, Akim, that all these immigrants coming into this country, that along with the immigrants from Haiti and Africa and China, all of that was going to open the door so that way when Esau was going to start to come down or come in like a flood, he was going to start to now be able to go after the Negro, Latino, Native Americans. And that's exactly what's happening, man. These devils are going after every minority they want if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? And that's how these Edomites roll. Because why? Because they set the trap, and now they're leashing it out. The brother Adam Nana brings out Psalm 146:3. Put not your trust in princes, nor in the Son of Man, in whom there is no help. Exactly, man. See, because again, this is why this is why this whole lesson is about, man. The YAHAWAH, that's a beautiful scripture, right? Because again, we are not going to be able to save ourselves. Because again, our people have been misled, or are constantly misled, I should say, and are still being misled. So in doing so, in trying to free ourselves, or to make something of ourselves, right? What happens is we ultimately find out that a lot of these movements are just tricks by these Edomites in power to get us more entrapped. Okay, and that's why we're not going to be able to save ourselves, man. Just looking at the social economic situation that we're currently in, we're not going to free ourselves out of this devil system by using this devil system. Okay, this is why we ultimately need the Lord to come back and save us, man, because we're so deep in depth, or should I say, we're so deep in this trap that these Edomites have set up for us, that if we didn't have the Lord on our side, we'd be destroyed a long time ago. The brother, student of the Most High, brings out Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Exactly. See, and that's all what we're ultimately telling our people, man. Never trust these Edomites, the Caucasian and Israeli race. Okay, because again, their agenda is not for our turn. They are not for us. They want to destroy us because the low-level Edomites, they just don't like us, right? They may say they like us and whatnot, but again, if there's some low-level Edomites that really do like us, they just don't understand the real situation that's coming, and even they themselves are outsiders within their own community. And those Edomites in the higher up echelon who do fucking know who we are, they fucking hate our guts because they understand that we're the Israelites and that it's us that are going to inherit this world. So hence, they're the ones out there, the Bill Gates, your Klaus Schwabs, right? Your Jeff Bezos. Those are the ones that are secretly funding all these depopulation agendas that are targeting the Israelites, and that's because they want to ultimately hold on to their blessing. They want to hold on to the rulership that they believe that they've gotten by their own will. See, these devils believe that they have gotten back into power since the Renaissance by their own will, right? Despite the Lord taking them down, they don't realize that the Lord has loosed them for a little season, right? Them being Satan, described in or Lucifer, described in Revelation, that he's going to be locked up for 1,000 years and then be loose for a little season. These devils think that they did that by their own hand, and hence this is why they're doing all this wicked shit. And again, when I say they, I'm not talking about your everyday neighbor, your John Doe's, or your Peter or whatever that work there at your job with you. No, I'm talking about the fucking higher echelon 1% Edomites who actually know what's going on. The brother Adam Nana brings out Isaiah 19:20, and it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM of hosts, in the land of Egypt, for they shall cry unto YAHAWAH because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them. Beautiful, and the beautiful scripture, I like the water. And that right there segues into what we need to be saved out of this system. Because again, we are not going to be saved by our own hands. We're not going to build like a HOI wanted to do, right? Have a little community out there in Georgia where they have their own 30 acres of land and stuff, and they were talking about creating their own little city and everything. That shit's all still within Esau's system, man. You ain't gonna save yourself out of that system, man. We need to be saved by something outside of Esau's power structure. The brother student of the Most High brings out Psalms 83 and 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance. Beautiful. Yep. See, that's what we're up against, man. These people who have taken crafty counsel, which is, again, they convene with the left-hand powers, witchcraft, sorcery, right? They know truly what's going on. This is why you have people like I forgot her name, Marina Abramovic, that fucking high-end fucking witch who hangs out with the higher people in music. This is why you have all those fucking old, nasty-looking witches in the higher echelons in the music industry, the music and the fashion industries. Why they're friends with the political powers, right? Why do you see, this is the reason why you see Marina Abramovic over in Ukraine doing crystal rituals and leading their school, for that entire country, because again, these are witches and they use left-hand power, because again, they know what's going on. They know that we're more than just, meat bags, okay? They know that there is more to this reality than this third dimensional materialistic realm we live in, okay? And they deal with the higher left-hand powers, okay? And what we here, Hebrew Israelites, are doing, we're dealing with the higher right-hand powers, okay? The Most High, His angels, and all those powers, okay? And the thing is that ultimately we're going to need to appeal and to cry out to our power, which is in the higher realm on the right-hand side, right? Like it tells you in like the brother brought out, right? It says, for they shall cry unto Yahawah because of the oppressors. And that's what's happening, man. See, the Lord is now hearing the Israelites who are calling upon his name and his true name, right? And because we're keeping the laws accordingly, we're now sinless when we pray and we ask for our sins to be forgiven. So when we ask for our sins to be forgiven and we pray to the true name of the Lord, he's literally hearing us. Okay, this is why there's a lot of spiritual benefits that are now coming to us Hebrew Israelites, when we're in this truth and we're doing the righteous work. Because again, we are tapping into the right-hand powers, which is what is scaring the shit out of these Edomites in power right now, right? They see that we're appealing to outside of their system. This is why a lot of these Christians and a lot of these people like Vocab Malone, they're losing their shit, because they see that we no longer are going to them for acceptance or for some sort of we're not appealing to them for their approval, right? Because we don't need their approval, because again, those are the devils working within the devil's system, okay? So that being said, let's go and read this. This is Matthew's 26 and 52. Then said Yahawashi unto him, put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. So like I said, right, we have to appeal to a spiritual power, right, to our spiritual power that's outside of this realm to save us from the wickedness of this realm, okay? And we can't do that by taking up arms, going after these devils in a physical manner. They are craving for us to bring up arms, so that way they could mow us down with lead. Okay, this is why the Lord broke up Sakari. Okay, and he got Elazar out there going on his humiliation tour, man. Right now, Elazar trying to reclaim some level of relevancy in the system. Right, he's being broken down bit by bit, man, because the Lord is done with him and he wants him to just go away. But Sakari got taken down because they brought the notion of us, basically taking up arms and basically getting ready to fight against these Edomites, which that ain't going to be the way it works, right? The Israelites who are going to be going against these Edomites, it's already happening now. And again, those Israelites are part of the 2/3, the wicked of our nation, and they're being used as a bulwark to go against these Edomites. That's all those videos you see of Jake, most of the southern and northern kingdom, just going up to these Edomites and basically beating the shit out of them or doing some horrible stuff to them, man. Right? That's the scripture that talks about something about the hands of the wicked shall come upon them and shall make them afraid and cause them to rise up to their feet. Paraphrasing, but that's what's happening right now. The Lord right now is plaguing these Edomites with these wicked 2/3 of our nation, because those 2/3, they're not going to be saved. They've been rejected. So the Lord's using them right now as cannon fodder to shoot against these Edomites and destroy their peace. Okay, this is because he doesn't care if Jamal or fucking Enrique, who go out there and do some wicked shit to these Edomites and gets blown away himself, or gets put into jail for the rest of his life and sees the second coming while he's in a prison cell. Because why? Because one, they have been rejected and they're not part of the 1/3, right? And that ultimately is not only is a judgment and a breaking down of these Edomites' peace, right? But it's also a judgment against those wicked Israelites who haven't turned back to the Lord, right? They're being used as a what's the term? Not cannon fodder, as basically just weapons or ammunition against these Edomites. Okay, so that's the Israelites they're going to go against, not us, right? Us, Lord willing, the 1/3 of us Israelites who are going to be saved in these last days. It's not for us to take up arms or any type of physical weapons and go against the system, right? We're supposed to be blameless in this, right? The Lord has sent us out and told us to be harmless as doves, right? But be wise as serpents, right? Meaning that we ain't supposed to be caught up by these devils, right? We're not supposed to be out there trying to shoot them down or do anything physically, because why? What did the Messiah just say? He said, all those that take up the sword shall die by the sword, okay? And that's because we have to win this spiritual war that's going on. Even though we're here in the physical, we have to win this spiritual war in a righteous manner. And what does that mean? That means that we just have to come out here and speak the truth, right? Speak the scriptures and explain them to people. This is our weapon, right? We're breaking down, we're basically cutting down all these lies, all these strongholds of these devils. We're doing it in the spiritual realm by our words, right? So the thing is by keeping at that, we'll be fine. But again, it's when you take up weapons or you want to do something physical, you want to get in your car, drive, and go shoot somebody down because you didn't like the legislation they're passing or the things that they're pushing, right? That's where you go off, and you then tie yourself into the 2/3 who are going to be in the or taking, should I say, the materialistic route that the Lord is not dealing with. Okay, so that being said, it's not for us ourselves to take that vengeance or try to save ourselves, because again, we're not going to be saving ourselves through our money, right? Building up an empire. We're not going to save ourselves by following these false, corrupt leaders that have been set up, by our enemies to lead us in a wrong manner. And we're not going to save ourselves by taking up physical arms and going out there and starting a war with these devils, right? That ain't going to happen, right? There's a place for that, but that's the Lord ultimately causing the Spirit to go on these 2/3 bugged out Israelites and go and do the wicked shit that we're seeing happening on the news. Okay, that's that wicked that's falling upon these Edomites, man. Because again, the Lord is ultimately plaguing them for what they've done. Beautiful. The brother student of the Most High brings out Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against powers, and against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Exactly, man. See, so we got to be smart about this, right? We got to be wise as serpents and understand that it doesn't, that it's not that person that's talking shit to you, but it's the spirit in them that's causing them to do that, right? We got to look at things on a spiritual level. Like me being out here right now, giving the gospel, preaching the word. What it's doing is it's causing a lot of the spiritual strongholds here in this area to basically fall and to crumble. Okay, and same thing with the apostles and all the other Akim out there teaching. You brothers out there, when you're sharing scriptures on comment boards or other videos around the internet, what you're doing is you're basically like throwing spiritual acid on these fucking demons out there, man. The ones that are pushing debauchery, that are pushing wickedness out there, right? We combat it with these scriptures, right? So that's how that breaks down. And again, let me just reiterate that we won't be able to take out these devils in the physical manner, because again, when you look at these Edomites, man, we can't come up against them, right? Because yeah, you'll see a bunch of YNs and YMs going out there with all these guns under their jackets and everything, and you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of weapons, right? But then when you look at your average, you know, Edomite who loves fucking hunting and everything, and he opens up his house and his closets, he has whole freaking racks of fucking long arms and you know, ammo for fucking days, man. They got basement shooting rooms, man. These guys are fucking packed to the gills. And not only that, but when you look at the technology that the military and the police forces have, we ain't coming up against that, man. And again, like what did Biden say, man? If you want to come up against the government, you have to have some F-16s and some missiles and all these type of things. And that's true, right? Because even the Bible makes mention of that. Let's read it. This is Revelations 13:4. And they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And that's rhetorical, because what that means is nobody can make war with these devils, man. These Edomites got the 3D realm on lockdown, man. They control the weaponry. They're the ones who are blessed with the sword. This is why when you look at all the weaponry that these devils come out with, man, it's fucking astonishing. The shit that they consider the methodology when it comes to like the making the triggers and all these things for these weapons. They take everything into account, from wind velocity to the heat of their barrel to the weight and the grams of the fucking powder that's being used in their weapons. Even them, they're getting into laser weapons now, man. So we ain't going to fight against these devils. Hey, Shalom, Mark, what for joining? We ain't gonna be able to fight against these devils on a carnal level. This is why we gotta fight with them on the spiritual level, because again, the scriptures was our blessings, right? We were given the understanding of the Bible, and though it may not seem like it's doing much on the physical realm to those who don't have eyes to see, this right here is devastating to the spirit and to the power structure of these Edomites, man. It is crumbling their empire. This is the true reason why in the last like 10 years, 20 years, that the American empire has been fucking crumbling. This is why the economy has been falling down. This is why these Edomites are being revealed left and right for the debauchery and the wickedness and just the straight out evil and just wickedness that these devils are doing. Because why? Because all that spiritual power that these devils used to use to manipulate the masses, all that is basically being taken out. Okay, the brother Adamana brings out Baruch 2:4-25. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from God, for thine enemy hath persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck. Beautiful, right? Exactly, man. See, that's what we got to do. We ultimately have to withstand in the spiritual, right? We have to withstand, make sure that we're not involved, right? That we don't get goaded and persuaded to go into these BLM or these, you know, racial fucking traps that these devils set up for us, so we can get trapped up in our emotions and go and try to beat up somebody, right, man? Right now, these fucking Amalekites, right? I'm talking about the Israelis. They right now are trying to, how can I put it, man? They're trying to goad so many people and rage bait them into committing anti-Semitic acts, right? This is why they're out there with the word Jew on their shirt. They go right in the middle of protests. But people are smarter. A lot of people are smarter than that, right? Because they know that if they attack these Amalekites, that they're going to have then a reason to bring down these anti-Semitic laws, right? Just recently, right now, that's making its rounds is an image or it's a video of that fucking dildo Rabbi Shmuley, that Amalekite, over there in Germany, man, at a pro-Palestinian protest, man. His ass straight got kicked in the back of his fucking shin by some fucking German, right? And the thing is that's what he wanted, even though it seemed like he was crying and making a big old fuss about being kicked and everything. he wanted that shit to happen, and now more likely, because they got that shit on camera, man. Like you see this fucking German guy coming back and just kicks him right in the back of his fucking shin, man. Got his ass good too. But the point being is now the Amalekite controlled German fucking government is now going to more likely bring down anti-Semitic laws, and they're more likely going to fucking arrest that guy and shit, man, and send him, because again, that's what these Edomites want, man. They want you to lash out at them so they can come down on you in the physical. But this is why what is it? There's that video that came out a couple weeks ago where you had that Jake. He got pulled over by cops, and he was wearing a t-shirt with fringes, and he was being all fucking combative, man. He just probably listened to an ISUPK fucking lesson and shit, man. He was all probably roused up and shit. Then he started fucking going off on the cop, talking about their time is almost over, and you know they've been treating us so bad, and his ass got fucking arrested. Even the cop said, man, for him being an asshole, he's gonna get arrested. See, so the thing is the scriptures say, man, we gotta agree with our adversary while we have the chance, man. Basically meaning we don't have to go against our adversaries in this kingdom. If they come and say, hey, you gotta go, as long as you're not, you know, as long as you're not doing anything bad, then you should ultimately go off and stuff, right? And the thing is that you gotta agree with these devils, right? And just go off and to fight another day, right? Because if you crash out, then what's going to end up happening is you're going to be like that one Jake that got pulled over, man. You're going to be arrested, and now there's going to be a profile on your ass, right? But again, we have to be smart. We have to understand that we're fighting a spiritual war, right? Exactly. That Jake had no wisdom, man. He was all operating off of emotions. He was getting into the physical, which is again why he was wearing the what is it? The tassels on his fucking shirt, right? Because he was ultimately just he wasn't thinking in the spiritual, man. See, he should have just, you know, talked to the officer, said sorry officer, blah blah, took the ticket and fought it in court, right? Fought it wisely, man. Use that wisdom that the Lord has given us, right? Because again, we have to be wise as serpents but harmless as doves. But again, that's what Esau wants. And even though that fucking cop was in the video, he was speaking the way he was speaking because he knew that he got that fucking Jake, man. This is why he was playing all, you know, hey man, if you would have been cool with me, I would have just, you know, let you go. But hey, you wanna talk be rude and be like this? His ass knew that he got him, man. This is why you gotta be smart when you deal with these devils. But enough about that. Let's go move on. Let's get because again, ultimately we're not gonna be able to fight against these devils, right? Be it physically or, you know, through their law systems. And again, and speaking of that, so you got those Moorish people, right? The Kemetic Moorish people, thinking that they could get out of Esau's legal trap by using his legal laws, man. They ain't gonna fucking work, right? This is why we always see a lot of those videos where they get pulled over, and they're like, oh, I have the right to travel, and they bring out all these you know, binders with all these contracts and everything, and they say, oh, well, I'm a Moor, and they don't realize that you can only get so far with that yeah, you may have a little you may be able to conquer a small fucking police officer here and there, and you may win some things in court, but ultimately you're still fighting Esau with his own weapon, right? That law that he has set up is Esau's weapon, okay? And these devils ultimately, if they want to, they're gonna twist the words. They're gonna ultimately break their own laws, and they're gonna throw your ass in prison, right? Because why? Because they have the control right now. So again, we can't make war with this beast, right? Who can make war with the beast? Nobody. That's the answer, right? The only person who can make war with him is the Most High, Yahawah and YAHAWASHI, and that's why we need him. But again, we have to wait for them to come back. So that being said, let's go move on. Let's read this. This is Psalms 44:4. Actually, I'm sorry, at 3. 44:3. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them. But thy right hand which is YAHAWASHI, and thine arm, and the light of thy countenance, because thou hast a favor unto them. Thou art my king, O God. Command deliverances for Jacob, right? And that's ultimately what it is. See, the Lord, no matter what wars we win, no matter what things that we come up on, it's ultimately because the Lord is going to want the Negro, Latino, Native Americans to succeed. But the thing is we have to follow the script. We have to make sure that we're following the laws of the Lord. Because again, it doesn't matter if you could, gather up a group of men that you think are going to help you take down the local government, and that's going to help you then go on to be rebellious, and you're going to create a little rebel outpost. That ain't going to succeed, because again, you're only going to get so far before these Edomite devils, they bring in their SWAT teams, their all these different organizations, or they even infiltrate your group. Look what they did to the Black Panther groups, right? Look what they did to the Cesar Chavez Farm Workers Union, man. They infiltrated all those organizations, okay? And this is why ultimately none of that is going to save us. We have to ultimately wait on the Lord to come and save us from the current captivity that we're in. Now, let's go and read this. This is Matthew's, back in Matthew's 24. This is Matthew's 24 and 29. Because again, remember, everybody on the world, because there's no such thing as a pre-tribulation rapture, which is what these Protestants falsely created back in the early 1900s, talking about how the believers of God are going to be taken up into the sky before any of the tribulation happens. No, that ain't going to happen. It's been proven that's false doctrine, right? It was created by some Jehovah's Witness, I think, or he was some Protestant. But the point being is that it tells you here that everybody in the Bible, or it's everybody in the world, is going to have to go through this tribulation. And right now we're at the very beginning of it, right? All these ICE raids, all the Palestinians being just genocided over there, all that is part of this tribulation that the world is currently going through, right? But these Edomite devils, who the world eventually is going to find out are the Antichrist of the Bible, right now everybody has to slowly start to come to a realization that they are in fact the imposters that it tells us in Revelations 2 and 9 and 3 and 9, and then pretty soon they're going to start to wonder who they are. And that's what we're here for, to tell the world that they are the biblical Edomites, who are prophesied to be the wicked that the Bible speaks of, the Antichrist, which the world will eventually come to realization of, right? So, but this is telling us what's going to happen to us Israelites, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and all those whose father's bloodline goes back to that line. What's going to happen to us after going through this tribulation, right? Also known as Jacob's trouble, the time like never before, right? This is what it tells us. This is Matthew 24 and 29. Immediately after the tribulations of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And that right there is ultimately talking about the world war. Because again, remember, if any of y'all have seen those war footages of Israel bombing Iran, or Iran bombing Israel, those missiles, when they came down and were hitting their targets, it looked like stars were falling from heaven. And again, when it says that the sun would not give her light and the moon would darken, again, that's from all that smoke going up into the sky. So there's going to be massive wars going on during this time of trouble that's coming about right now. That's why right now you're seeing the BRICS nation, which again it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Thawad Akim for telling me about that. They're right now building up their military forces along with the NATO forces. They're building up on their side. So we're getting ready to go into this massive third world war. This is why, again, they're starting to talk a lot more about the coming drafts here in America. Because again, they're planning on shipping a lot of people over there to the Middle East area where this is about to go off on. So it says, verse 30. So after all this goes on, it says this: then shall appear the signs of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And what is that talking about, right? What tribes, right? Some people are like, well, I'm American, I'm not in a tribe. Well, I'm from China, I'm not in a tribe. Yes, you are. All the 197 nations that are on the earth today that the UN recognizes all go back to the find it here. They all go back to the 18 biblical nations described in Genesis 10. Okay? So all these 18 biblical nations still exist today, but they've all been spread out, scattered, and they no longer go by these biblical names. Okay? But again, the Lord, he always references these biblical nations in the beginning of the Bible and in the end. Okay? So that being said, when it says all the tribes of the earth, he's talking about these 18 nations or 18 tribes that all the inhabitants of the world make up. So what does the Lord say all the tribes of the world are going to do? It says, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And again, those clouds of heaven is what we understand as so-called UFOs. But again, these are going to be massive ships. So large, they're going to look like, it's going to be like an Independence Day. That's where these devils get these stories from, okay? Because they understand the scriptures, and this is why they're programming us, so that way when we see that, we believe that they're aliens, okay? They have purposely trained the populace to be afraid of the Lord and to not understand that that's the Lord coming back. Now, they're going to currently lie. They're going to lie, and they're going to say that a lot of these things that we're seeing are aliens, and the aliens are here to harm us, and this is why they're right now they're in the midst of militarizing and weaponizing space, because again, just like in the Bible tells us that Satan and his angels are going to fight against God and his angels. That's what it's talking about, right? The powers that be that currently rule the world, that being America, the NATO nations, these Edomites that are in power, they're going to ramp up their production and weaponize space, so that way they could be ready to fight against God when he comes back. Continuing. Verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the earth of heaven to the other, right? And that right there is how we are going to be saved. So when I say that we're not going to save ourselves, you can't save yourself from what's coming, right? The implantable RFID microchips for your hand or for your brain that they're planning on putting on everybody, which Neuralink is already testing out on human. I think it's going to go into the second round of human testing, right? You already have Bill Gates along with Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, funding Synchron, that's the other brain chip company out there, right? And then with this new health czar, Robert Kennedy, right? He came out and they now made a new law that they're going to start they want every American to have a wearable medical device, so that way you can help you track your own health metrics. Now that will eventually transition into an implantable RFID chip, okay? And that coming new digital economy, which Trump just signed he just signed last month, right? The new digital economy that they're going to bring out in October, that right there eventually will be on your phones, right? They're going to allow you to transfer things just like they're doing in China and India and over in Australia, where you'll be able to scan QR codes, send people money, like digitally, how we've been doing through Zelle and Cash Apps and all these things. But eventually what's going to happen, because of all the allowed fraud that they're going to allow to happen, they're going to say, well, you know what? We're going to need to have this digital ID, which is now required. Again, remember, these devils are trying to pass make it mandatory for you to get a digital ID. I think it was in 2000, I think it was like 2 months ago, is when they said that was the deadline for you to get a digital ID or a real ID here in California. But they're finding that a lot of people don't want this. But why is that? Well, that's because everybody is hesitant to get it, because inside of a lot of people, there's a lot of understanding that this is all going to lead to that new digital society like they have over in China with the social credit system and the mandatory vaccinations that they're pushing out on those people, right? So that is what's coming over here. This is why you have Trump signing into that new digital law with the digital economy, the new upgrade for the medical system, right? And they're giving people free wearable digital devices. All this is leading to that mark of the beast, okay? And the thing is that, like it tells you that the Lord, ultimately, when he comes back, he's going to come looking for his elect. And why? Why is he looking for his elect and not the whole world? Well, because you see, the majority of the world and the 2/3 of our people, they're going to fall for the deception of these devils, right? They're going to take that mark of the beast. They're going to join in with the side of the devil, thinking that they're doing right? Thinking that, falling on the side of Israel right now, where they're committing genocide against those Palestinians, they think that's right? But or thinking that, oh well, I'm not going to be bothered by it. It doesn't pertain to me. But the thing is that by siding with these Edomites, you're ultimately making you're siding with his side, and eventually to be in his system, to buy food at his shops, to pay taxes, to get your paycheck, or to get the new UBI payments, which is the universal basic income. Because again, remember, this is why they're collapsing the economy, because they're bringing out the new economy, which is going to put a lot of people out of work, and to bribe people, for the most part, to not rise up against this. They're going to start paying people to just live and to just die off. Because again, they've said it in their own symposiums over there at the World Economic Forum over in Davos, Switzerland, that they said, what are we going to do with all these useless eaters? He says, well, we're just going to give them drugs, and we're going to let them, play video games all day. And that's what they're ultimately doing, okay? This is why they're going to be giving everybody universal basic income. But what's going to eventually happen is that if you want to keep getting your monthly payments, you want to go into stores, you want to travel to the next city, you want to do certain things, you're going to have to get that chip implanted in you. And what does the Bible say about getting that chip? You ultimately sell your soul to the devil, for the most part. That's what it means, okay? And when that happens, you no longer are going to be part of the elect, part of those people who are going to be saved out of the judgment, okay? Because one, you sided with the side of the devil, and that means that you ultimately have to be destroyed here on this side. So next, let's go and jump back to Isaiah, and let's read this. This is Isaiah 31:5. Because again, this right here, like the last scripture I just read, it says that the Lord's going to come in the clouds of heaven. What is it? Like I said, that is talking about the UFOs. And just so that you understand that I'm not making this up, let's go and see Isaiah's version of that same event happening, right? He describes it a little differently. This is Isaiah 31:5. It says, as birds flying, so will YAHAWAH BAHASHAM of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it. Passing over, he will preserve it. So again, like birds flying, what is that talking about? That's talking about the Lord coming down in these chariots of heaven, or the clouds of heaven, or as birds of heaven, right? He's coming down in what we would perceive as UFOs. Okay, so this is, again, another reason why the Lord said, when the salvation draweth nigh, look up. Okay, because again, and this is another reason why NASA has now declared that they see the third interstellar object of all history, of recorded human history, since we've been looking in the stars in modern history. In the last 5 years, there's been 3 interstellar supposed comets, coming into our solar system. Okay, when you understand that comets, they don't come from outside our solar system, they come from inside of our solar system. Okay, so to have all of a sudden the third one show up, and this one here is racing towards the sun, and that it'll be by the sun in October, which is when they're saying that supposedly this thing is going to stop by and it may come to Earth. Which again, I believe that right there is going to be the Project Blue Beam deception, where they're going to make you believe that the aliens are coming and that they're going to be evil beings, and they're going to cause trouble. Because remember, these elites at the top, they work with demons. Okay, they work with the left-hand angels, which is why you always hear them. You always hear rumors about them sacrificing children, having a child sex trafficking ring, because they use all that shit for sacrifices. Okay, and this is why you hear about Hillary Clinton being all into witchcraft, right? You have that lady I told you, Marina Abramovic, that high-end witch, that she roams around the high political elites. You got the other high witch lady in the music industry. I forgot her name, but she looks like a little troll and stuff like that. But again, all these musicians, all of them, they all who are popular today, they've all sold their soul, and they've all made contracts, and they've all dealt with these witches and performed these magical rituals. Because why? Because they deal with the left-hand angels, right? You even had some celebrities in the music industry coming out and tell you that they do work with the left-hand angels, or they work with the Satan, and they do these rituals. Okay, I forgot their names, but I ain't gonna get into it. But again, this is what it's talking about, right? That ultimately what we are being told is just fiction and movies. There's an aspect of reality to it. So let's go and move on. So again, as you can see, other prophets have also mentioned how the Lord's going to come back in these end times, and they're going to come back as in these so-called UFOs. And again, just to give you understanding, back when we were the Aztecs, we also had an understanding that when our Savior was going to come, he was going to raise us up into the sky as eagles and take us back into the land of Aslan, right, which was on the border of Babylonia. Where is Babylon? Babylon is modern day Iraq. And what is next to Iraq? Israel. And why? So why is that important? That's because we are the Israelites, the true Israelites of the Bible. Okay, but right now we're coming back to our reality, to our true heritage, which was ultimately lost because of all the things that we went through, the conquest, the slavery, even the slavery till today, right? We're being misled and to be told as far as who we are and what our history really is, right? They want to tell us that we were savages, slaves, and we were basically just in the jungles, right? But no, we were the Israelites who came over here in 600 BC, stayed over here 2,400 years before we were found, and then we were ultimately conquered. When you ask if you ever meet a Mormon, ask them, are the Indians and the Latinos, are they Israelites? They'll tell you yes, because they understand that we are the Israelites. That's what the Book of Mormon is. It is a historic record of the Israelites when we came over here, before we started to war against ourselves, and we ultimately devolved into a Lord of the Flies type of scenario, and we forgot ourselves, right? Mormon, he was an Israelite, a Native American Indian, who recorded all these events that took place over here. Okay, so that being said, let's go and move on. Let's go to Isaiah 12. Isaiah 12 and 2, it says, "Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid, for YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWASHI is my strength and my song. He also is become my salvation." See, and that ultimately is what we have to understand, is what we got to appeal to for salvation. Because again, what is coming to the world, not just here in America, not just here in California, but to the entire world, is the wrath of these Edomites. Okay, they're going to, just like when they brought out those vaccinations and they made everybody scared to death that they were going to die, and if they went out and kissed their grandmas or did whatever, right, they're going to bring the same sort of diabolical psyop, and they're going to make you believe that if you don't get these implantable chips in your hand or your forehead, if you're not part of this new system, they're going to make you believe that those people are terrorists, that they're evil, and that they're dangerous to be around with. You ain't gonna be able to test them to make sure that they don't got the virus or whatever bullshit they're gonna bring, right? And that's what's gonna ultimately happen, right? These devils want you to rely on them instead of relying on the Lord. And the Lord ultimately says, right, that from time immemorial, the Lord has always been on our side. Okay, and this is why we got to remember in these last days that our salvation is not going to come by our own hands, by our own wills, or using these Edomites' empire and their technology and their systems to save us. No, these Edomites are setting up everything in their system to turn around and to ultimately trap you into that mark of the beast system. This is why it tells you that in the mark of the beast time, when it comes, that you won't be able to buy or sell except if you have that mark. And that's because these devils are going to close down everything, right? You ain't going to be able to do anything unless you have that mark. You're basically going to be outside of society. You're going to be like a homeless person. So you have to be okay with that. Okay? But again, a lot of people in this world, they won't give up what they have to stay away from that. But again, that's the test. That is the test that's going to come upon all the earth, to see if you love the Lord or if you love the materialistic goods that Satan and his people on earth are going to offer you to continue to live in this world. Okay, so let's go and read this, and then we're out of here. This is Proverbs 3 and 5. It says, "Trust in Yahawah, BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." And that's what we ultimately got to do, Akim. We got to remember that we have to be out here, and we have to rely on what the Bible says and what the Lord is telling us, right, through the scriptures, not through some pastor at some little wacky church that gets tax credits from the government to not tell you the name of the Lord, or to tell you, or to teach about the mark of the beast. Because again, that's literally, if you have a 501c3 nonprofit church, you cannot speak about the mark of the beast. You can't speak about the Antichrist. You can't speak about certain things. Because why? Because those people, just like all these false leaders of our society, they have taken the bag to ultimately sell you out. Okay? And that's why today's lesson is ultimately about we will not save ourselves. And that's because the only person who's going to be able to save us is the God of the Bible. And the God of the Bible is only going to save us is if we're doing what he wants us to do. Right? That being to follow him, keep his commandments to the best of our ability, to believe in his son, YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? And to understand that all the crazy things coming, the race riots, which are really going to just be the sedition of people fighting against the government, right? Fighting against each other, right? That, the economic collapse, the World War III breaking out, and the invasion of America, which is going to happen, right? We have to go through all that and not get caught up in the system, right? We got to basically stay away from the worldly solutions, that being taking the chip, right? But again, that's the part that you can't take. Now, when the digital economy does come out and everything is now a digital dollar, it's okay to get involved in that, because that's not part of the mark of the beast, because you will need to do that to live and to be part of the system for as long as you can. But again, once they want you to put that chip, that identity, that biometric ID, which is like what they're doing over in Mexico. Again, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, Akim, last week the Mexican government just made it mandatory for every Mexican citizen to be required to have a biometric digital ID. And again, that biometric digital ID includes fingerprints, iris scans, and then eventually that is going to lead to be implanted into those citizens. So again, it's okay to get involved in that system, but just if they want to put it into your body, that's where you have to step away from it and not be involved with it. So either way, that was today's lesson, Akim. So to show you that again, it's not going to be us or our will that's going to save us, but it's going to be the Most High Yahawah through his only begotten Son YAHAWASHI. They're going to be the ones that are going to have to come and save us from the wickedness of this world. Because again, you ain't going to be able to rise up against these devils and their immense power. So either way, hopefully this video is edifying, Akim. Let's go give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM QADASH, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah YAHAWASHI, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah YAHAWASHI, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM QADASH. Tawad, Akim, for joining. I'll catch you, Akim, next week. If you have any questions, put it down in the comment boards. If not, I'll see you, Lord willing, throughout the week. Shalom.